Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What's up, First Cut fans? It's your boy RB3, and yeah, we in the dark because we here for a new review for Stephen King's The Boogeyman. Listen, when 20th Century Studios screened this film back at the end of the Disney panel at CinemaCon 2023 this year, myself, the Geeks of Color team, shout out Ferdosa, shout out Brittany, we was all there. Also, some of the discussing film people, shout out Andrew, shout out Joe. We was all chilling there. We didn't know what to expect from this little horror movie. We knew that it was supposed to originally come out on Hulu, but then it got upgraded to a theatrical release, which is actually something we saw in a couple horror movies this past year, like with Barbarian was originally also made for Hulu. Smile, which was originally made for Paramount Plus, ended up becoming big box office hits. And of course, with a powerhouse like Stephen King involved, you can only assume the best. You can only assume it's going to be dope. But it's also from Disney, so what is it going to be there? Is it going to be watered down? What is there to expect? But thankfully, Rob Savage directed The Boogeyman. He's a British director. Super cool. I actually got to talk to him for Geeks of Color. I'll make sure to link that junket interview in the description. But this movie is actually pretty okay. It's like not short on scares at all. It's based on a Stephen King novella of the same name. The original story focuses on a terrifying psychiatric session between Dr. Harper and this young man named Lester Billings. In this film, Lester is played by David Dastmalchian, and he seeks help for this unexplainable death of his three kids. And it's a really short novella. It's really it's a short story. It's really short, so there's a lot of room to expand on both his story, Lester's story, but also the story of the Harpers. And that's really what this film centers in on, is Dr. Harper, the therapist, and what his family are going through. The movie follows Dr. Harper, who's played by Chris Messina, who we just saw in Air. If you watch The Newsroom, he was a big part of that show. He plays a lot of funnier characters. So in this film, it's actually kind of interesting watching him be a more reserved therapist, respected therapist, who kind of shuts down emotionally to his kids after his wife dies. Meanwhile, his daughters, Sadie, who's played by Sophie Thatcher, and the younger sister Sawyer, who's played by Vivian Lara Blair, they're grieving over their mother too. So it's everybody's kind of just trying to figure out who they are themselves. And then out of nowhere, while they're in the midst of grieving, this mysterious monster starts lurking in the shadows. But again, Will, who's the dad, who's Chris Messina, he's so detached. He's not listening to his kids at all. He's not believing what they're saying. So it's like that traditional thing of the Stephen King lore, where kids are seeing things, kids are not imagining things, they're seeing things, but the adults in the room are not believing it. Also, like most Stephen King classics, the thrills hit much harder when you actually care about these characters. And like I said, the beginning of the movie focuses a lot on their relationship together and how they're dealing with this grief and this trauma. All the performances all around were really great. Like I said, the reserved father figure, paternal figure who's struggling with loss. We have Sophie Thatcher, who's gracefully weaving the overwhelming sadness of her character with, a sense of unmatched courage that we see in all good horror heroines. And then also the youngest sister, Sawyer, played by Vivian Lara Blair. I think she makes a star-making performance because she plays the fear and the innocence so well. This is, something I would compare to Haley Joel Osment and The Sixth Sense. She just really did a good job. There's a lot of other supporting players as well too. David, who played Lester Billings, he was great, but he was creepy as well. So, and speaking of creepy, there are a lot of spine-chilling sequences throughout this film. With The Boogeyman being a creature of the dark, director Rob Savage and cinematographer Eli Bourne light the night scenes with precision to maintain the right amount of visibility, so it's not too bright or not too dark, which I think is the best way to watch it in the theaters, especially with the best possible laser projection, so you can really get the best, most optimal feel. If you're watching it a TV or whatever, it might not be the best, but I still think the way it's shot actually works on a lot of different formats, whether it's a nice glowing moon toy that illuminates some of the scenes, or the glow of the TV screen, when people are playing video games. They just find really fascinating, creative ways to light scenes and ordinary ways, but then turn those ordinary objects into not so ordinary moments or scares. Another example of that is something we see in the trailer, this light therapy session where Sawyer, the youngest sister, she goes to like this light therapy, again, trying to deal with that trauma. And she's gravely afraid of the dark. And in this therapy session, they have like this bright red box that flashes and slowly stops flashing more and more till it gets to complete darkness. It's a simple gimmick, but it's like really effective because by the end of it, I was like just as scared as she was. To me, The Boogeyman is a heart-stopping horror film that just reminds you how scary the dark is. You know, the scares or the moments, they're not particularly groundbreaking or mentally scarring or, you know, traumatizing, but that's, you know, they are absorbing, they are efficient, they are immersive. And I think they're just fun. It's just a fun horror movie. Like I said, it's PG-13. So if you're a horror fan, you could take adults to it. You could take like your younger cousins to it. I probably wouldn't take like children, but yeah, it is good. And it definitely should be watched on the big screen in a blacked out theater with the best sound possible. So that's my recommendation. You'll be entertained if you like horror films. If I had to rate it out of 10, I rate it like a 7. You know, it was good. It was really, really good. Shout out director Rob Savage. Shout out Sophie Thatcher. Shout out Chris Mancini. You catch all those interviews that I did with all those lovely people on Geeks of Color. I'm gonna link all of those in the description down below as well. With that, y'all, before I go, what are your favorite Stephen King movies? What are some of your favorite horror films? Let us know in the comments down below. Anyway, it's your boy RB3. Peace.
It's either me or you. It's either me or you.